street preachers, there are 8 main groups on my commute. Yeah.
How long does it take you to get to work?
Very few operate in the mornings. It's mainly the evenings, and some just do weekends. Going in order, the Harry Krishnas tend to work Grafton Street and O'Connell Street. They get very antsy if you ask, can you see any paperwork for the charity cash they're requesting from people. They don't like it when you interrupt and say, by the way, do you know that this man's founder believes women's brains are half the size of men's? Though they never deny it. Moving further on down, if you go to Temple Bar, there are 2 groups. There's a blogger who runs Alien on a Mission. Nice chap, he bought me tea and biscuits and I was on his Creationist podcast. Believes the Earth to be at most 11,500 years old. Next to him you have the Legion of Mary, who pass out medallions and leaflets but don't actually engage in conversation. It's not quite their thing. If you go further on down, there's 2 chaps who have never really been managed to engage in conversation. They're on Henry Street. They seem to shout in turn. I've never worked out what they're exactly saying. Proceeding along, you get to Desi, who is actually a nice chap, just some very strange views on the world that we inhabit. And I think I've missed one, but they're probably forgettable. Feels like a couple of years, although it might have been a week, they just have that effect. Yeah, put me down for 2 years, I could be wrong. Oh, it depends on the point. I've been wrong on some things, I've been wrong on some things Paul has said, but about the, I'm really focusing on the wackiness, and I do believe that you might find somewhere someone who's just talks intelligently about Christianity or Islam, probably not Hare Krishnaism, or, but who happens to be outdoors, and that's possible. But in terms of people I met in Dublin, nothing that's really swayed me. Yeah, this is going back to the Moonies, their evangelist will not speak to me anymore because I have an angry animal spirit body. I was talking to her and I was asking, well then, just what do you believe and why is a good opening question. And I was asking, I said, well, what has swung you? And she said it's the fastest growing religion. And I said, well, Islam says that, Christianity says that, even the atheists take a pot at saying that too. What else do you have? And she said, well, it's a real shame that you haven't been given the spiritual gifts I have. So I said, really? Okay, what spiritual gifts are they? She said, well, when I look at a man, I can tell when he has lust in his heart because his spirit animal starts behaving differently. I said,
is that a euphemism?
Is that a euphemism? That is a good point. She also said she can tell when people are lying because their mouth disappears. The Messiah, Moon, he says that people who lie will not have mouths in the next life. So I said, okay, well, I've got a simple question for you. I am 31 years old, and if you can tell me if I'm lying or not based on my spirit animal, I will happily buy that book from you, and I'll happily read it, and I'll come back to you with any questions. And she backed away and seemed quite scared. My spirit animal had done something relatively obscene, I presume. Boredom, it's a rather dull walk. And that's maybe a bit unfair. I mean, I do like to hear what people believe and why. I do find it interesting to try and put yourself in someone else's mind, and I think you can learn a lot about yourself by trying to step into a different perspective. I've met a lot of perfectly nice, sane people. I did a few radio shows in the UK, met some great guys, but we're talking about the wacky ones tonight. No,
I love it.
Yeah, I've seen footage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someday. Ooh, the Moonies are fairly wacky, I have to say. Some of the flood justification stories are rather crazy. I'm trying to think if I can do something new. The Islam style, one guy said that he believed because salt water and fresh water don't mix, and that's predicted in the Quran. And I said, well, that's been debunked by anyone that's had Ribena. Some of them are a bit nutty.
Can I just interrupt
sure.
on that point? Do you also have any advice for surviving at 13?
Actually, if you want to check out my blog, I did a long spoof email saying, I completely take you seriously, I believe every word of it, but I'm working in HR and I want to know when I should start doing hiring. Also, our desks are quite close together, so could fire jump from bank to bank. And yeah, when I was younger, I experimented a little. I touched a man's penis, so will I get the full burning or will it just be like singeing? Or Desi is it doesn't come up all that much. I'm straight, but with Desi once he says that he viewed it as sinful if I had sex before marriage, be it with a man or a woman. That's about as mild as I got. Actually the worst reaction I ever got was while talking to the Mooney. Someone overheard that I was an atheist and assumed I was gay, and said that it was disgusting that I enjoyed eating feces. And it kind of touched on violence for a while. The most violence I've actually seen is from Catholic passers-by, especially older generations, maybe a bit more fundamentalist in their beliefs. But sorry, I don't have a better answer. I occasionally defend Christianity at the Islam style, and I've defended Islam to Christians. But they're the big two I know about, and I find it hard to defend the Mooney beliefs. On the defending Islam to Christians, it was more of a clarification, which in fairness he was willing to take on board. Defending Christianity to Muslims, they got slightly irate. I think I knew the source material a bit better than they did, and said it wasn't appropriate for me to defend it, seeing as I didn't believe it. Ooh, tough question, because I don't know much about the leadership of the Catholic Church.
Well, the hierarchy.
Yeah, it's
small, big,
You've heard of the Pope?
Yes, funny hat, German guy. Yes.
What's evil?
Yes, yeah. He had a prior career defending slave labour from Allied aircraft.
Something to do with Nazism or something like that.
Yes, yeah. In terms of what danger street preachers pose in general, I think some people
in general,
yeah.
children in particular.
I think I'd be most worried about the Hare Krishnas, because people think, anyone from India has to be more spiritual and enlightened, which I find a fairly racist notion, so people tend to get sucked into that. In terms of general comments on Catholic hierarchy, I've got some smallish thoughts, but nothing particularly well thought out and polished, so I'll bow out for someone smarter to answer that one. Oh man, this is a free hobby. I don't have to pay for football gear, gym membership, I don't have to buy books, I can just walk up and start a conversation, which I find very entertaining and interesting to an extent. I like talking to smarter people to avoid using a euphemism about their beliefs. I know some smart Christians that can be interesting in terms of what I'd hope to achieve. I don't genuinely believe there's going to be a huge swath of street preachers converting based on a few half-hour chats with me. They're fairly well drilled in how to avoid that. I do like that Desi doesn't say quite so much completely off-the-wall things about evolution after reading The Greatest Show on Earth. No, but I tend to be fairly quiet, as in I'm always quiet, conversational and polite, so I think people are just quite happy to be able to walk past unmolested. As I said, I think the Hare Krishnas probably had the best shot, because people don't see it as a religion, and if you ask them, are you selling these books to aid in a religion, they will say no. In terms of young earth creationism and beliefs like that, there is some growth, but I think Catholicism has really inoculated people to that. It's not for any very particularly sensible reason they'll reject it, they'll just view it as not Catholic and walk on by. Yes, it was one of the most unusual creationist claims I've seen. Now, this was on YouTube and not in person. But the belief was there was a canopy surrounding the earth that before the waters fell down as part of the flood, when the windows were opened. Let me see if I got this right. Yeah, and this canopy of water would have increased the air pressure, so there's more oxygen available, and that allowed animals to grow larger and larger. However, when the flood happened, the oxygen pressure lowered, so dinosaurs had to breathe faster to get the same amount of oxygen for their large frames. Now, this guy said that dinosaur nostril holes are about the size of a pencil, which they aren't. So he said they had to breathe in and out very, very quickly, and that's where they're going. The friction caused their noses to catch fire, and as they caught fire, flames would come out, and that is where we get the legend of dragons breathing fire, and that is also what caused the death of many dinosaurs. It's a good question, and I do think it's a need I don't have, so that's maybe why I do find it interesting to talk to people who do have that. I do think there's a big advantage to being a member of a group. I'm not sure how much I could necessarily apply that to street preachers, because they're often quite isolated. I flat out don't know. It certainly is popular though. I got Desi to read Dawkins. I mean, what more would you like? In terms of taking it on from there, I mean, as I said in my list of things that I wanted to achieve, I do think I've convinced well, maybe not the Harry Christians and the Moonies, I can be a bit harsh on them, but otherwise I think I've convinced a lot of people that you can be nice, that there are nice, polite atheists out there who can have a sensible conversation about what the other person believes, and I think that's confused a few people. I'm happy with having achieved that. The Greatest Show on Earth, subtitled The Only Game in Town, is Evidence for Evolution. He read it. He's still a creationist. I should maybe explain why. It's a great heaping mounds of evolution, but when you have the creator of the universe whispering in your other ear, it's sort of hard to counteract that. Ooh, I don't care what he does.
I don't care either, but just from a human point of view, being the man he is and what happened and all that.
Yeah. I find the excuses that have come out, that people have come out with, are particularly galling. Bishop up north said that he was, in trying to give him some credence, said, well, he's no worse than people who were terrorists at that time. Well, there's a high bar. Well, my favourite one is, well, you notice every statement was, he was a young priest. He's 36, I'm 32. Do I have 4 more years where I can get away with that kind of thing? The other one was the government hadn't published any guidelines saying that he shouldn't facilitate child rape, which, I mean, to my mind, kind of drops any claim the Catholic Church has to be an arbiter of what is moral and what is not in our society. So I hope, I don't really think that stepping down is any sort of gesture. I mean, he's past retirement age anyway. He's going to go off and play golf somewhere. I don't think that really fixes anything.
It's actually in that respect that the street preachers are an awful lot more innocent than the leadership of the church.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, and they're all good intention, just working off a very wacky base for what real is.
Thanks very much for that, Geoff. Excellent talk, very interesting. Anyone who hasn't gone to Geoff's website, it's geoffshorts@blogspot.com. That's GEOFF shorts.blogspot.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right, and we'll probably post it. I can't actually post from Atheist Ireland on my phone. I'll have to wait till I get home, but I'll post a link to it from Facebook and Twitter in the next couple of hours or tomorrow sometime.